Welcome to the shadow frequency, where the veil between this world and the next grows thin, and the things that whisper in the dark are given voice. From the cryptic candlelit studios, deep in the Indiana forests, your host, Matt Wilson, and his spectral producer, Juniper Ravenwood, unearth the forbidden, the forgotten, and the fearsome. So, still your heart, dim the light, and listen closely. For once you tune into the shadow frequency, you may never tune out.
Welcome back, my shadowy friends, to the shadow frequency. I'm Juniper, and I hope you're comfortable tonight. Maybe the doors are locked, maybe the curtains are drawn, and maybe, just maybe, you haven't heard anything outside that sounds like an ambulance siren coming from the middle of an empty field. Because I have to tell you, after spending time with tonight's case, I've decided that strange noises in fields are no longer any of my business. Some mysteries frighten you because something terrible happened. Others get under your skin because something happened that simply does not fit anywhere. And tonight's episode is definitely the second kind. Tonight, we're opening the file on Sam, the Sandown clown, the thing in the fields that said it was all colors Sam. In May of 1973, two young children exploring the countryside near Sandown on England's Isle of Wight claimed that he followed a strange wailing sound and encountered a towering humanoid figure with a white face, triangular eyes, three-fingered hands, stiff limbs, and a bizarre pointed hat. He moved strangely. He spoke strangely. He invited the children into a metallic hut. And when asked who he was, he reportedly wrote one of the strangest introductions in paranormal history. Hello, and I am all colors Sam. Was Sam an extraterrestrial visitor filtered through the vocabulary of two children? Was he some kind of ghost? A creature out of old folklore? Or did those children briefly wander into a place where the normal rules simply did not apply? Chris, I have to start with you. You heard some strange cases on this show. Where does Sam land for you?
June, honestly, this one lands squarely in the category of absolutely not. I'm picturing two children crossing a bridge, a blue hand coming up from underneath it, and then a 7-foot thing hopping about in a hat. I'd have been back home before Sam found his notebook, but the strange thing is, he doesn't sound threatening. And somehow, that actually makes me more uncomfortable.
Exactly. If Sam had chosen them, we'd know where to put him. Dangerous creature, runaway, file closed. Instead, he's apparently making conversation and eating berries through his face. Matt, what was your first thought when you really got into this one?
My first thought was that Sam sounds like three different paranormal cases crashed into each other. You've got the ghost language, the alien imagery, and something straight out of fairy folklore. But the detail that bothers me is the communication. Hello? Are you still there? That's not a monster roaring in the dark. That's something trying to keep the conversation going.
And there it is. Something in those fields wanted the children to stay. All right, my shadowy friends, the bridge is ahead of us, the siren has stopped, and something underneath has just reached into the daylight. Matt, bring us in to tonight's case.
You are tuned to the shadow frequency, where every whisper tells a story from beyond the veil. Hosted by Matt Wilson, produced by Juniper Ravenwood, with Chris Beach. The darkness continues.
Thanks, Juniper. This is one of those cases where I opened the file thinking I knew the basic story, and 5 minutes later I was wondering whether the phrase clown robot in a marsh had ever appeared in a serious case report. We're going back to May of 1973, to Sandown on the Isle of Wight, a seaside town bordered by wet fields around Lake Common. Two children are exploring, a 7-year-old girl known by the pseudonym Faye and a boy about her age. They wander, poke around, follow whatever seems interesting. Then they hear a wailing noise, later compared to an ambulance siren, coming from across the golf links toward a swampy meadow. Now at 7, that kind of sound does not always send you home. Sometimes it pulls you closer. They follow it through the rough ground toward a narrow brook and an old wooden footbridge. The noise stops. The field goes quiet. And from beneath the bridge, a blue-gloved hand slowly appears, as though something had been waiting for the children to arrive. The figure that follows is almost impossible to describe without assembling 3 nightmares at once. Nearly 7 feet tall, no visible neck, a pointed yellow hat with a dark knob and wooden-looking antenna at the sides. Green tunic, red collar, white trousers, blue gloves, 3 fingers on each hand and 3 toes on the feet. The face is worse because it does not quite behave like a face. Triangular markings for eyes, a brown square for a nose, motionless yellow lips, round marks on paper white cheeks, and a reddish fringe of hair. The arms and legs were described almost like wooden slats, stiff, jointed, constructed. The children watch this thing fumble with a book, drop it into the brook, splash around to retrieve it, and then move toward a windowless metallic hut with a bizarre high-stepping, hopping gait. Not walking, not running, hopping with its knees raised high. It disappears inside, and the children continue on. Then, about 50 yards away, the wailing begins again, louder than before. They turn around, and the tall thing has come back out to find them. I've got something from the file here, a copy of the January-February 1978 British UFO Research Association Journal. The article is titled Ghost or Spaceman 73, and it preserves the account in narrow newspaper-style columns. According to the report, the figure returned carrying what the children called a black-knobbed microphone with a white flex attached. The boy became frightened when the wailing resumed. Then Sam spoke into the device. The sound stopped. From a distance, the children heard a voice clearly. "Hello? Are you still there?" That sentence gets me because it suggests awareness. He knew they had walked away. He wanted them to remain. They moved closer and discovered he could apparently speak without the microphone, although his yellow lips barely moved and his speech was unclear. Then he produced a notebook. The words were not arranged in normal order, so he pointed to them one by one for Faye to read, "Hello," and "I am all colors Sam." Suddenly, the thing in the meadow had a name, or perhaps a description. We still don't know which. "I am all colors Sam." Was he saying his name was Sam and he contained all colors? Was Sam even a name? The children asked the questions adults would probably be too stunned to form. "Are you a man?" Sam reportedly chuckles and says no. "Are you a ghost?" His answer is extraordinary. "Well, not really, but I am in an odd sort of way." They ask what he is. His answer is essentially, "You know." "No, Sam, we absolutely do not know." He says there are others like him. He says he is frightened of people and worries they might hurt him. If attacked, he says he would not fight back. There is a strange vulnerability wrapped around this 7-foot being, as though the children have found something physically wrong for our world but emotionally cautious of it. Maybe that is why they stay. Maybe fear changes when the thing in front of you seems afraid too. Or maybe Sam knew exactly what would lower their guard because his next move was to invite them inside. The children reportedly crawled through a flap into the hut. Inside were 2 levels. The lower area had blue-green patterned walls with shapes resembling dials, an electric heater, and simple wooden furniture. The upper level was tighter, with a metallic floor. Sam said he had made the hut himself. He spoke of a camp on the mainland and others like him. Then we get to the berry. Sam says he eats berries. He removes the pointed covering from his head, revealing white ears and sparse brown hair, places a berry into his ear and jerks his head. The berry disappears. Then it appears at one of the triangular eye openings. Another movement, and somehow it reaches his mouth. Ear, eye, mouth. Every time I read that, I ask the same question. What if the children were not looking at skin? What if the face was a panel, a helmet, or a protective covering, and the berry moved through something behind it? Maybe the strange part is not what Faye described. Maybe the strange part is that we keep insisting those triangles were eyes at all. And this was not a 3-second glimpse. The children stayed with Sam for around half an hour. They asked questions. He answered some and dodged others. He said he drank river water after cleaning it somehow, and then the visit ended. The children said goodbye, crawled from the hut, crossed the golf links, and told an adult they had seen a ghost. He laughed. Later, Faye told her father, and she became upset when he suggested she might have invented the story. Buried in the account is another detail that changes the temperature of the whole case. 2 workmen were reportedly nearby repairing a post while the children were with Sam. Faye could see the men, but they seemed to pay no attention to the 7-foot figure, the metallic hut, or the children talking with it. Faye's father eventually wondered whether his daughter had somehow entered what he called a bubble of alien reality. And if that idea is even close to the truth, maybe Sam never disappeared from Sandown at all. Maybe, for half an hour, the children were the ones who disappeared from us. That is where I want to pause, because once you put those workmen into the story, this becomes something different. 2 realities occupying the same field, and only the children apparently seeing both.
I don't like that at all. The idea that you can be standing 10 feet from someone and experiencing an entirely different place is deeply unsettling.
And I'm still stuck on the hut, mate. 2 floors, a heater, furniture, all of it. That's an awful lot of somewhere for something that apparently wasn't there.
Exactly. And when we come back, we're going to ask what Sam actually was. Alien, ghost, fairy, imagination, and why the phrase all colors may be the most important thing he ever said. Juniper and Chris, over to you guys for the break.
The siren was coming from somewhere beyond the trees, and when we followed it, something tall was waiting by the water. It told us its name was Sam, but I still do not think that was a name.
Thank you, Matt. Well, my shadowy friends, we followed the siren, met the thing under the bridge, and somehow made the terrible decision to crawl into Sam's hut. I'm genuinely wondering what some of you are thinking right now. Alien? Ghost? Something mechanical? Or are a few of you already yelling at the children to get back across that bridge? We're going deeper in a moment, but first, Chris, you've been suspiciously quiet since the berry incident. The frequency is yours.
Thanks, June. Yeah, the berry thing has finished me off, honestly. If something puts its dinner in its ear and it comes out through its eye, I'm not staying for pudding. But while we're all trying to process Sam, give the show a like and subscribe wherever you're listening. It genuinely helps the algorithms find us. We're on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, and all the major podcast directories. Head to shadowfrequencypodcast.com for every episode. The companion blog, merch, show notes, and links to all our platforms. You can also buy us a coffee there to support the show, or send us an email or voice message that might end up in a future episode. Right, June, I'm going back to keeping an eye on the bridges. Back to you.
Sensible plan, Chris. And now it's time to fire up the Spectral Cosmic Message Materializer. I'm flipping the switches now, tightening one questionable copper coil. There we are. Something's rattling inside the chamber. We've got a message slipping through the static like a folded note pushed under a locked door. Let's unfold it carefully and see who found us this time. This one comes from Paul in Indiana, who listens on Spotify, and he writes, "Most evenings, once dinner's cleaned up and the house finally gets quiet, I put Spotify on, turn the lights down in the living room, and unwind with an episode. I've learned the hard way not to do that with every light off. The UFO cases are probably my favorite, but I also love the hauntings where there's enough history behind the story to really pull you in. You guys have a way of making it feel like I'm sitting in on the conversation instead of listening to somebody read a report. Keep the strange ones coming. I'll be listening after dark. Paul in Indiana, still checking the hallway twice." Paul, I love that, and I absolutely understand the hallway check. Sometimes I finish working on one of these episodes and suddenly every normal house noise has developed a backstory. Thank you for listening in the evenings. Paul, and I'm thrilled you're hanging out with us on Spotify. Although after tonight, I would suggest ignoring any sirens that seem to be coming from a swamp. And remember, my shadowy friend, you can send your own strange stories, comments, questions, or general messages from the darkness to shadowpodcast@protonmail.com. You might find your note coming through the materializer on a future episode. All right, Chris, Paul has checked his hallway. I've checked mine. Let's see what's moving in the shadow news.
Cheers, June. Paul, I'm with you on checking the hallway twice. After some of the cases we do, I occasionally think checking it a third time is just good housekeeping. A fresh claim in the UFO world is putting private defense contractors back in the spotlight. Speaking on Congressman Eric Burleson's Fresh Freedom podcast, Harvard astrophysicist R.V. Loeb said a former senior Lockheed Martin executive told him the company was involved in alleged UFO crash retrieval work. At this point, it remains an unverified claim, not documented proof, but it is fueling new questions about whether some of the most closely guarded UAP secrets may be sitting inside private industry, not just inside government. June, I'll toss it back to you.
Thanks, Chris, and that really is a fascinating question because when people talk about hidden UFO programs, the conversation almost automatically goes to military bases and government vaults. The possibility that alleged material or information could instead be sitting behind the walls of private industry adds an entirely different layer to the mystery. Unverified, absolutely, but certainly a claim worth watching. And strangely enough, tonight we're already dealing with another mystery of labels: ghost, spaceman, clown. We keep trying to find the correct box. Maybe the problem is that Sam never belonged to any of them. Matt, let's go back to Sandown. What exactly did those children meet?
He looked like a clown, only because we did not have another word for what we were seeing. The longer he stood there, the more I wondered whether the face was actually a face at all.
Thanks, Juniper and Paul. Unwinding in the evening with this show is brave because tonight we have introduced a 7-foot berry-eating clown thing to your quiet time. Sleep well, my friend. Chris, that Lockheed claim is another reminder of how strange the UFO conversation has become. The question is not always whether somebody saw a light in the sky, but whether information or material could be buried somewhere people never think to look. Oddly enough, that brings me back to Sam and the alien theory. Forget the word clown for a minute. Look at the components. A tall humanoid with a head covering, triangular optical-looking features, 3-digit gloves, stiff or artificial limbs, a voice that does not match the movement of the mouth, a cable attached to a communication device, a metallic structure with walls resembling dials, water purification, unusual food processing. If two children in 1973 encountered someone wearing an environmental suit, what words would they use? Helmet becomes hat. Sensor ports become funny eyes. Communications equipment becomes a microphone. A modular shelter becomes a hut. Suddenly, Sam stops looking like a circus clown and starts looking like somebody dressed for an environment that was not built for him, which raises the question of why he was hiding under a bridge in Sandown. I pulled another page from the file, a photocopy of page 12 of that 1978 Bufora account. After describing the berry moving from Sam's ear to his eye and then his mouth, the report briefly wonders whether he wore some kind of protective mask and was examining the berry before eating it. Look at how different the scene becomes. What the children call eating could be sampling. What they call a trick could be analysis. He says he can clean river water before drinking it. He gathers berries. He is frightened of people. He has a camp elsewhere. There are others like him. He uses a device to control or interrupt the wailing sound. 7-year-old Matt would have yelled alien. Matt sitting here now says we should be careful with the label because alien makes us picture a spacecraft, and the children never reported one. No saucer, no landing marks, no bright object overhead attached to this encounter. But does an outsider always arrive in a vehicle we expect? Maybe the hut was the important object. Maybe the thing we call a shack was equipment, shelter, or even a doorway, and the children crawled through it without realizing how far they had gone. Now, I promised we would leave one rational door open, so here it is. The skeptical explanation is that two children created, exaggerated, or jointly reinforced the story, and the details became fixed as adults repeated it. The encounter was not published in the Bufora Journal until 1978, years after the alleged account. Faye's identity was protected by a pseudonym. The boy was never publicly identified, and we have no photograph, physical trace, recording, or independent adult witness who can place Sam in that field. Childhood imagination can be astonishingly specific. That is the clean explanation. But here's what I chew on. The story is specific in the wrong way. Monster would be easy. Instead, we get scrambled written words pointed out in sequence, a black knob device with a flex, 3 fingers and 3 toes, blue-green walls patterned like dials, the absurd berry route through ear, eye, and mouth, a being who says he is not really a ghost except in an odd sort of way. Those details do not prove Sam existed, but they feel less like a polished, scary story and more like two people struggling to describe a thing for which they had no category. And that is where the old folklore creeps into the room. Take Sam out of 1973 and move him backward. Put the encounter in 1473. 2 children leave the village, follow an unnatural sound, cross water, meet an oddly dressed non-human figure who speaks in riddles, enter his dwelling, and later cannot produce the place or being for adults. Nobody calls that an alien. They call it fairy folklore. They talk about hidden people living beside our world and occasionally allowing human beings to step across. Put Sam in 1873 and maybe he becomes a spirit or mechanical phantom. In 1973, after decades of flying saucers and space exploration, he becomes a spaceman. Today we call him a cryptid or an interdimensional entity. What if the phenomenon does not change nearly as much as we do? What if it presents itself through a vocabulary available to the witness? Fairies become aliens. Demons become shadow people. Angels become luminous humanoids. The shape changes just enough for the human mind to hold it. Then I Am All Colors Sam sounds less like nonsense. Maybe Sam was not describing his clothes. Maybe he was saying there is no single color, form, or category that contains him, because what you see depends on what your mind is prepared to see in the field. And that may be why this case lasts. Mothman gives us dread. Bigfoot gives us woods. A haunting gives us a house and a dead person to search for. Sam gives us nothing stable. He is friendly, absurd, polite. He invites 2 children into his hut, talks about berries, performs the most anatomically upsetting magic trick I have ever heard, and fades out of the record. No attack, no prophecy, just, hello, are you still there? And I Am All Colors Sam. Every piece is almost understandable. A siren, a man, a microphone, a shed, food, a conversation. Put them together and reality slides sideways. Maybe Faye and her friend met an outsider in protective equipment. Maybe they crossed into one of those temporary places folklore warns us about. Maybe Sam was a shape that wore many names before 1973 and would wear others afterward. We cannot establish any of those identities. We do not have Sam. We have an account, old journal pages, drawings, and a sentence that refuses to sit still. But imagine just for tonight that the children told the truth exactly as they understood it. Somewhere near Sandown, something nearly 7 feet tall once watched 2 children walk away, lifted a wired device, and called after them to ask whether they were still there. The question I cannot shake is whether Sam might still be listening for us to answer again. That's where Sam leaves me, not with a monster, not with an alien standing beside a flying saucer, just a voice in a field asking 2 children if they were still there. And somehow, after 50 years, that question still feels unanswered.
Yeah, mate. I came into this thinking strange bloke in a costume, perhaps. But the more details you stack together, the less comfortable the whole thing becomes. And I'm telling you now, I am not crawling through a flap into Sam's hut.
Oh, I don't know, Chris. He had a heater.
June, that is how they get you.
Fair point.
For me, it's that phrase, all colors. Maybe it was childish wording. Maybe it meant nothing. But maybe Sam was trying to explain something enormous with 5 words, and 2 children were the only people who ever stopped long enough to listen. Juniper, I'm turning this strange little field back over to you.
Sam never threatened us, never chased us, never raised his voice. Somehow, that is the part that still scares me the most.
Thank you, Matt. Tonight, we followed 2 children across the fields near Sandown, across the wooden bridge, and into one of the strangest encounters ever to find its way into paranormal literature. They claim they met something tall, something geometric, something almost mechanical. It said it was not a man. It said it was not exactly a ghost. And when asked what it was, Sam apparently believed the children should already know. Alien, spirit, fairy, visitor from somewhere beside our reality, or a story created in the extraordinary landscape of childhood imagination. More than 50 years later, the Sandown clown still refuses to choose a category, and perhaps that's why we're still talking about him. Thank you, my shadowy friends, for joining us on the Shadow Frequency. Don't forget to visit our website, shadowfrequencypodcast.com. Yeah, and please come back for our next strange case. You guys want to say goodnight?
Absolutely. Good night, everybody, and thanks for spending part of your evening with us. And remember, curiosity is a wonderful thing, right up until a blue hand comes out from under the bridge.
Good night, everyone. Stay safe, keep listening, and whatever you do, don't follow strange sirens across golf courses. Apparently, nothing sensible waits at the other end.
And good night for me, my shadowy friends. Keep your eyes on the quiet places, your ears tuned to the static. And should a voice in the darkness ask, "Are you still there?" maybe think very carefully before you answer. Until next time, stay curious, stay strange, and keep listening to the Shadow Frequency.
This episode was conjured with a solemn vow to explore the unexplained while remaining bound to the truths that have been unearthed. All interpretations are speculative and offered only for your enlightenment and your entertainment.